authors. I'm Joanne Morrell, children's and young adult fiction writer and author of short non-fiction for authors. Thanks for joining me for the Hybrid Author podcast, sharing interviews from industry professionals to help you forge a career as a hybrid author, both independently and traditionally publishing your books. You can get the show notes for each episode and sign up for your free author pass over at the Hybrid Author website to discover your writing process, get tips on how to publish productively, and get comfortable promoting your books at www.hybridauthor.com.au. Let's crack on with the episode.
Hello, authors! I hope you're all keeping well in whatever part of the world you reside and listen to the podcast in. Today's interview is with Rosie Schonell on writing good mystery books for kids and Outback Noir. And we chat Rosie's debut middle grade mystery novel, developing these characters and what Rosie hopes young readers will take away from their personalities, balancing creating a compelling mystery with ensuring it's age appropriate for younger readers, Outback Noir, what draws Rosie to this setting, and how it shapes the tone and themes of her story. Rosie's advice to aspiring children's authors or debut authors, or just authors in general looking to write in the mystery genre, and much more. So on my author adventure this week, you may know I've turned 40. Yes, I am now 40 years old, the big 4-0, and I really don't feel that. And also, the Hybrid Author podcast turned 4. I think that was May 10th, as per last episode that I put out. 4 years of the Hybrid Author podcast and turning 40. So yeah, I had a lovely birthday. Thank you everybody for the well wishes. I was made to feel very special by those I loved, friends and family. And yeah, it just got me thinking about how important relationships are. Really, you get to this stage in life, which makes me sound old, but not that relationships weren't important in my younger years or anything like that, but you definitely cherish them a lot when you go through stuff. Just for the people that actually you haven't heard from for ages, that are from different parts of your life, that actually take the time to have wished me a happy birthday and things like that. It's so meaningful. And it just made me feel like I really just connection. Like I really want to make sure that I make a point of keeping in touch with people, cherishing relationships, being there for others as much as I feel other people are there for me. You can always change your life. You can change how a relationship is, whether you've got a relationship with someone that's severed or you've lost touch or you want to strengthen it or you want to strike up a relationship with someone. You can absolutely do all these things. What you put the time and effort into is what you'll get back in return, really. I've had a very nice week and it's not finished. There's a couple other birthday celebrations coming up, but I'll share all on that another day. For now, the actual birthday of 40, and I've hit the age, hath happened and is done for another year. Definitely feel more mature. So I recently saw an article by Jane Friedman, and it was on LinkedIn, and I'll post it on the show notes, and it's called "Do You Have What It Takes to Make It in Publishing?" And I wanted to read a little bit of it because I really connected with it. And if you haven't heard of Jane Friedman, she's been in the business a very long time. And if you don't follow her, you should, because she's really insightful. So Jane says, "A question that has long fascinated me: which writers keep going until they achieve success, whatever that might mean to them? Is there a reoccurring trait or quality? Stephen King has famously said that talent is like table salt, and I agree. Talented people may be in fact more likely than others to get chewed up by the system if they feel deserving of success and grow bitter when it doesn't arrive early or on time. I used to believe that great work or talent would eventually get noticed, that quality bubbles to the top and it gets rewarded. I don't believe that anymore. Great work is overlooked every day for millions of reasons. Business concerns outweigh artistic concerns." And this is me stopping the article, but I think that's actually true of, when I think about my own business, a lot of the work that I'm bogged down in right now is business stuff. And as someone who is I'm working in the business, I'm trying to pull myself out of that to work on it, which is creating. And, I think that you can get really bogged down in that over, like she's saying, artistic concerns. So back to the article, some writers are perpetually unlucky. Some people give up because they lack a mentor or a support system. or because they fail to make the time required to develop as a writer. Others become consumed with self-doubt, they don't believe they're good enough, and maybe they aren't, not yet, and allow those doubts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, yeah, these are thoughts I was having the other day, thinking about, going back and forth all the time in the past and why it's taken so long to get to where I am, and just certain things. So a lot of what Jane says is good. She says, FictionDB, a site that attempts to catalogue published fiction, now up to 2 million titles and 500,000 authors, released the following statistics in 2021. About 80% of authors stop after 3 books, 10% make it to 6 books, and less than 5% make it to 12. Asking writers what they think of these stats is a litmus test for how they view the business of writing. Some say it indicates publishers are greedy and should pay authors better, or that authors are victims of late-stage capitalism. Some claim that no one reads anymore, or that people don't pay for art and expect writers to work for free. There's generalized fear that writing itself has been devalued so much, or that publishers or companies like Amazon have grown so evil that even those who get published give up. And I've heard of these things before. So, I mean, it's good to see them all in the one place, but you do hear lots of different things about publishing and writing and, from a career perspective. And it was something I didn't talk about a couple of weeks ago from one of these workshops I attended. And it blew me away that there was writers in that room who they've been writing as far as I can remember. They've had some success, and some things that were being said, it almost felt like a mindset that they didn't value their worth or their time and what their value was. And it was about charging and stuff like that. And I was a little bit blown away by that because, that was my mindset in the beginning. I didn't feel like I could charge a fair amount for my work. And I think a lot of writers are in that boat. Obviously, I've been in the game a while now, so yeah, I do charge ASA rates for speaking gigs, which is a fair amount, but it's also a fair amount of work that gets put into it. And now I value my time even more by charging for it via the podcast, via other things as a business. But yeah, it blew me away when I heard this sort of mention about not knowing what their rates of pay would be as breaking it down as a writer and not asking what their worth was. So yeah, it was a bit insane. So Jane says, the longer I'm in the business, the more I see it as intensely psychological. It's not a test of writing talent, it's a test of something else. But most of us tend to be obsessed with the talent part. During my college years, I thought people who stayed in the game were vetted or selected in some way because of evident talent. In fact, I wanted nothing more than my professors to take me by the shoulders and tell me, yes, you were chosen for this, you were meant for this, you will succeed at this. No one did, but they were supportive in other ways. And again, with that, validation. A lot of us want validation in our work. And because this is the unknown with writing and you spend a lot of time on a project, whether it's going to work, whether it's not, whether it's good, whether it's craps, a lot of us think, are we wasting our time? And I mean, I'm coming at this from a career perspective. So it's a lot of time, money, energy to put into something if, it either doesn't pay off to how you feel it should. And what Jane's talking about and summing up is, do you stand the test of time in the publishing business? Because if this doesn't match you and what you want, then people give up, and there's all these other reasons why. Jane says, then something funny happened when I started to speak at writing conferences while working at a mid-sized publisher. I started to be considered an authority on whether people would make it or not as a writer, just like I saw my professors as an authority. Some writers are brave enough to ask me, tell me if I'm wasting my time, or rank me on a scale of 1 to 10. They want to know that they have what it takes, whatever that means. This kind of validation seeking is rampant and takes many forms. And just like my writing professors, I don't want to be in a position of rendering a verdict because I really don't know. I can spot talent, but I can't predict who's going to keep doing the work. Most assuredly, every writer I meet is going to fail at some point and on some level, but that doesn't matter. What matters is what you decide to do next. And I'm not going to read the whole article. She, sort of the other paragraphs are turning passion into persistence, avoiding burnout and pressing reset. And she actually has a book, The Business of Being a Writer, 2nd edition, Jane Friedman. I reckon that I'm going to get it because she's really fantastic in this space. She's got 25 years working in the book industry, publishing industry with a focus on author education and trend reporting. She's the editor of The Bottom Line, the essential publishing industry newsletter for authors, and was named Publishing commentator of the year by Digital Book World in 2023. She works in grants and all sorts of things. She's just so knowledgeable and great for the industry. I hope that provides you some food for thought, as it did me, and also some connection on maybe you were feeling these things and know that it's universal. On some level, we do feel these things. And I guess in my heart of hearts, like I always say, to me, writing is a calling. It's took me this long to find something I want to do. And I feel like this is the path I should be doing it. Each thing that I put myself out into, as scary as it is, even like the speaking gigs back in the day, that last speaking gig I did for the podcasting, I had a moment where I just felt like this is what I should be doing. This is where I'm meant to be. And so I grapple all the time about whether this is the right career for me or if I should keep going or if it's easier just to go and get normal, guaranteed paid work, regular work. But then there's pros to this as well. I'm getting to choose the hours I work. I'm making money that would take, like, it comes sporadically, but the money is good, like, when it comes. So, and it comes, like, considering a normal job. Yeah, there's all different things, and it's a personal preference to have what it takes to become a publisher. It's not bloody easy, I tell you. So this episode is sponsored by Sanguine Press, my imprint of feel-good, fast-paced, emotionally charged women's contemporary fiction. The writer, the hairdresser, and the nurse intertwines the struggles and dynamics of three women's working family and romantic relationships, leaning on their long-time friendship to help get them through. And my short non-fiction for authors, author fears and how to overcome them. How many times have you said your writing's crap or shied away from calling yourself an author? Take comfort in knowing your author fears are valid. Other writers feel the same way you do, but are not letting fear stop them from putting themselves out there. We're all feeling fear, but doing what we love anyway, and you can too. And freelance writing, quick tips for fast success. Starting a freelance writing business? Place yourself in the pro position before you've met with your first client. Invest 1 hour gaining 60+ quick tips to save yourself time, money, and stress, discovering the little but important factors previously unconsidered, having never worked directly with clients before. All my books come in ebook, print, and some audio, and range from $10, $15 to $28 each.
Rosie Schonell is the author of her debut novel, middle grade mystery, Breaking School Rules is Easy, the hardest part is not getting caught. She has a Bachelor of Arts and a Master of Special Education and has taught English at all levels in schools and specialised in teaching students with learning difficulties. Rosie also volunteers at schools and organisations that teach reading, including teaching newly arrived adult migrants. She loves the game of pickleball, outrigging on Pittwater, and volunteers as a crisis supporter at LIFELINE. Rosie lives with her husband and has 3 adult children she's raised who loves books as much as she does. She spends her time between Balmain and the northern beaches of Sydney. Welcome to the Hybrid Author Podcast, Rosie.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to have you here. We'll just start with how you came to be a writer.
Okay, well, I've always loved books. I've always loved reading. I've always loved storytelling. I studied literature at university and then went on to be an English teacher. So I taught it in high school right through the HSC. And then I got into special education, which are students that have learning difficulties. A lot of them were reluctant readers. So, I got into different ways to, we went from phonetic learning the words, and then we got into storytelling. So audio stories through pictures, so graphic novels, just ways to get them to think about storytelling, and then slowly instilling a love of books. And I guess I always loved storytelling. And then my children, who I did lots and lots of reading with, they grew up and I found some time and I just thought I've always wanted to write my own story. So it was now or never.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's amazing. And did your adult children, did they love reading as much as you do? Because you read to them? Because I'm finding with my kids,
yeah, absolutely.
not so much, even though I've read to my kids all their life, they kind of turned against it. I hope they pick it up.
Yeah, no, they're all readers. So I said to them, that's my legacy. I'm going to make sure you're...
Yeah. Well, tell us about your debut middle grade, Breaking School Rules is Easy. And I love the title, the hardest part is not getting caught. It says a lot.
Well, it's a mystery for middle graders. It's set in a fictional town in Australia. And the protagonists become schoolgirl detectives, and they're on a quest. and they face lots of danger and take lots of risks on their quest. It's high stakes because there's a motivational reason why they're on this quest. And the story starts off with something that happened over 100 years ago, and then it jumps to the modern day, set in a school and around the fictional town. And it's about the girls on a quest, solving lots of clues.
Yeah, fantastic. It's funny because you say a fictional town, but Mirrabooka, we actually have a suburb close by called Mirrabooka.
Well, what
It's not a
happened was
town, but
I came up with the name, and I thought it sounded really like, really Australian. And I came up with the name and I was like really excited and I really loved it. And I ran it past a few people and I go, oh, that's a great name. I love it. I love it. I thought, wow. And then someone said to me after I sort of like halfway through writing the book, they said, there was actually a town called that. And I was like, no. So I thought, but you know what? I had the name in my head and I loved it and I kept it.
yeah, it's probably nothing like, in the suburb here in Western Australia at all. It's, yeah, no.
I hope not, but I just love the name.
Yeah. And I love the names of the girls, Minty, and we've just sort of discovered like her real name. Is she, how do you say it? Araminta?
Araminta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Araminta, and so her so she's shortened to Minty and then Billy.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And mystery is it's a really hot topic, I think. It's quite popular, isn't it, for middle grade titles? Although there's not a lot out there, I don't think.
Yeah, well, I think there is a little bit of there are the well-known ones, but there's a little bit of a gap there, especially ones set in Australia. Yeah, I just wanted it to be set in Australia and have all that sense of mystery around it with the setting and everything as well.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So in Breaking Rules is Easy, your protagonist takes some rebellious steps that drive the plot. Can you, their characters are coming across quite strong-willed, quite mischievous. Can you talk about how did you develop these characters and what do you hope young readers will take away from their personalities?
Well, I wanted them to be a little bit different, but also complement each other. And I wanted different readers to be able to identify with their different traits. So I didn't want to make them exactly the same because all children can be different. So, so there's one that is clever at school, but has a bit of an anxiety. And the other character, Billy, is more adventurous, more outgoing, doesn't like schoolwork, but has lots of courage and is more outdoorsy. So, so they both change as the story progresses and both sort of helping each other along on the quest. Look, with their different personalities, what I want the readers to really take away is that if you face your fears, it empowers you. And then you become able to face more exciting and more challenging things in your life. And then the other message is that academic grades, while they're very important, they're not the sum of who you are as a person. And I think it's really important for children with all the pressure that's on them today to realize that everybody has their own gifts and their own traits that should be celebrated. And it's just not all about that mark, even though obviously children have to work hard, but just to know that they can be good at lots of different things.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I guess, is I wanted them to also look at their, understand a moral compass, like what is right, like what is right, the right thing to do. Yeah, so those things from the characters.
Amazing. They're really powerful messages. And especially for myself, mother of two girls, 13 and 10. And so I just feel like those themes really fit in with those age groups, especially, anxiety in this day and age. It's so rife. It's not just girls, but obviously with boys as well. And I think it's really clever how you've got two characters that, they're different. They're almost like a yin and a yang, but their different traits work well together. If you've got a sort of anxiety character and then one that's adventurous, that's going to be pulling her along, I suppose, and then the other one's maybe pulling the other one back a bit it works quite well. I think that's really clever. So,
oh, thank you.
That's all right.
So yeah, they're the messages about it also has messages in it about, it's good to help other people and, just, other sort of friendship, like what makes a good friend and all that stuff. But in regards to the characters, I think they bring out those things that I just discussed.
Yeah. So were those messages quite important to you at the beginning of the novel, or did they just sort of, you realized as you were telling the story, this is what?
No, they were important because I think there's lots of children that, are anxious and they're tentative at school and they don't want to make mistakes and so they hold back. And so it's a really important message for them to get that if, you try and you face your fears, you'll be able to do harder things and do better things. And then I really believe that children are under a lot of pressure today, and that, school marks, school marks, school marks is probably, it's trying to get into, the OC class, and they're trying to get into selective class, or it's trying to get the HSC marks. All those things are continually through, you know, and you see kids really getting very stressed, whereas, it's really important to celebrate things like being kind and, things that so many children have, these wonderful traits that aren't necessarily, they don't get the award at school. Do you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think that they're really important to understand that there are lots of traits that you have that are going to ensure that you do really well in life and have a happy life.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And probably as a teacher, you've seen a lot of these stresses and things firsthand.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah,
that's shaped them.
absolutely. And I see, I've seen students that try and try and try, and they're really trying so hard, but, obviously they don't always get recognized, but they've got these amazing traits.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I think just the word stress and childhood, I just feel like it shouldn't be there, They
Yeah.
should be kids and as long as possible. And that's what I like about your novel as well, the imaginative element and the quest. And that's the childhood sort of play and the things too, which is great. Well, mystery books for kids, that often incorporate thrilling and suspenseful elements. How did you balance, creating mystery, like compelling mystery, with ensuring it's like age appropriate for younger readers as well?
Well, it's, once you get into that sort of older teenage years, I mean, I think all books can be enjoyed by everyone, but once you get into those teenage years, you get the teenage angst, and you get the emotion and the topics like, sex, and, it's sort of more those teenage things come into the story, where, so I didn't want them to have that in my story because of the target audience, but so it's still more wholesome, but it's still got, those middle graders still want danger, and they still want risk taking, and they still want outwitting, because, you're all, writing a book, you're also in competition with like computer games and TV and all that sort of stuff. So you've got to keep it a bit edgy and a bit happening. So yeah, so it was just trying to get that level right to keep it exciting and, a little bit on the edge of your seat, but not going into that next level of teenage angst. Yeah. So I think that was just trying and getting into the mind of a, say 12-year-old is what you have to do, but being conscious of not taking it to that next level.
No, you've done it really well. I feel like middle grade is such a it's to me, I've written children's fiction for many years, and I was very unsure about middle grade. I always felt like I was writing for that group because the ideas were kind of younger, but my writing was always older, and I just always found it difficult to place that kind of writing. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
you've done it really well, and your writing style as well is very tight, and it's great. Good
Oh, thank you.
language for that age group as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so, I think that there are some universal things at that age group, like creeping out at night and outwitting people and a little bit of deception. And so they're sort of things that they love to, and outwitting people in authority. And I also sort of had it in a setting that was, like around a school. So I thought that we can all, everyone can relate to that, the
Yeah.
school and teachers and that, yeah.
It's almost at that age group, I guess, is it starting to push the boundaries a little bit, and not unsafely, but like you said, with teenage pushing the boundaries, it's more adult content that they're doing that sort of thing for.
So yeah, it's just finding that step beforehand, before those
Yeah.
teenage, I call it the teenage angst.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, every time we say angst, instantly I just think attitude the teenage.
Yeah, yeah,
angst.
yeah, exactly.
Do you read a lot of middle grade fiction at all, or any mystery books? Do you like any? Do you like the adult mysteries as well, or
Yeah,
mystery genre?
yeah, that's my genre I usually go to is, mystery, thrillers, crime, adult
Yeah.
crime fiction. I also like watching it on TV, so I do like that. And, looking at the bookshelves of middle grade in a bookstore, there are the set ones that are around, but there seems to be not a lot. So that's why, well, I was always going to write mystery because that's what I like, but I thought, oh, that's a good place to slot it in. And also the Australian.
Yeah, that's it. I know. Well, yes, Australian Outback Noir is a unique genre, and it blends gritty, suspense-filled narratives with the distinct atmosphere of the Australian Outback. So I guess, what draws you to this setting, but as you said, it's quite important that it's Australia. We're living in Australia. How does it sort of shape the tones and themes of the story as well?
Well, I thought that, the Australian bush, has always had this sort of sense of it's foreboding, alluring, right back to Picnic at Hanging Rock, the story, the bush. So I really wanted to sort of bring the bush into it, which surrounds the town. I also wanted to make it just Australian with, it's got the climate. So it's, opens with bushfire. It's got thunderstorms. So it's got the heat. Then it's got the bats and the snakes and the flies and all that. So it's sort of creating the atmosphere of Australia. Yeah, so I wanted to be sort of a vivid setting that also had a sense of, a little bit of danger. Like, do we venture out into the bush? Do we venture? Yeah, and then I brought in sort of references to, the bush rangers and gold rush and, Indigenous people, just so, mentioning them in the story. So to make it really feel Australian. Yeah, so just those sort of things. Yeah, so I wanted to I guess I chose it. Well, I wanted to write about Australia, but I also thought it was great because of that sense of mystery and foreboding and alluring.
It's definitely got that reputation, hasn't it, in the bush? It
Yeah,
feels like a
a little bit of
mystical
danger.
element. Yeah. Well, I think children growing up here as well, they're aware of the dangers that are sort of hidden there, not just the flora and fauna, but it is a vastness.
Yes.
Yeah, got to be
The gum trees and the bush, and it sort of goes forever and it surrounds the town. And yeah, so I just wanted to make that sense, I guess, a sense of danger.
Yeah, I've read Picnic at Hanging Rock as well, and I loved it. I think they left it unsolved, didn't they?
I think they said that at some stage there was some sort of resolution, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I just read it a long time ago, but I just remember that sense of the bush. And then when they made the movie, they had the shots of the bush, and I was imagining that in my story
Yeah.
when I was writing it.
That's amazing. Is there any particular bush near you, like where you live, that drew on inspiration?
Yeah, up on the northern beaches, there's all the national park. Yeah, and that's like lots of bush up there. Yeah, so that's the bush that I see.
Yeah, fantastic. And how long was the process in writing it? How long did the work take? And
It took a while because being my first novel that I wrote, I did some courses along the way because I wanted to really learn the craft of writing. So, it wasn't like I just sat down and went, oh, okay, like I'm just going to write. So I had to sort of go back so I did some courses just online courses, but in the process of writing the story. And then, of course, life got in the way and there was other things. So, yeah, it took a couple of years of me to actually really get it how I wanted it.
Fantastic.
But I also sort of used it as a bit of a pastime that I'd escape into this world. So I sort of enjoyed going into my world of Mira Booker and Minty and Billy. So it was like a nice pastime to be doing. I sit down at my computer.
Fantastic.
So maybe I dragged it out a bit more.
No, that's great. I love that. I absolutely love it. And you hear that other writers saying this time with you in your novel, you're not going to get that back before you let other people in and out into the world. So that's great. Was it difficult? Did you find it difficult to get into the minds of younger things?
No, not really. I actually found it quite easy to get into the minds of, must say something about me. I can go into the mind of a 12-year-old. I just felt like it was really like escapism into their world. I just felt like I could go into their shoes. So I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, can you relate to that time in your life? When I first started writing, and I went to YA immediately because for me, my teen years were quite turbulent, and I find catharsis in kind of writing about it. And so, yeah, I wonder if people kind of tend to resonate to where a specific time in their life was good or bad.
I was quite adventurous as a young person. I always used to imagine that there were mysteries around my neighborhood and there was the haunted houses and there was always a mystery. I was always imagining that in my neighborhood, and I can still in my head picture the haunted houses that I thought were around. And I can remember with my friends, I'd want to sneak in and have a look. Maybe not all young children are like that, but I always had an imagination that thought something was going on in particular places.
Absolutely. No, that's great. And have you, obviously this is your debut one, you're enjoying the process, you've written it now. Have you thoughts for the next one? Is there another one in the series or anything?
Well, I've left, when you get to the end of the book, you can see that I've left it open a bit, that something could be occurring. So yeah, it's funny because I kind of miss my characters and I miss the world. So I'm sort of thinking I'd like to go back in and do another one in the same world, maybe have some different messages come out that the story then has a couple of other messages rather than the same messages. So with their newfound growth, the characters could now get into another mystery in the town.
Oh, amazing. That's great. And how have you found the publishing adventure for you? Have you enjoyed it? Or
Well, it's been an eye-opener. It's been a learning curve. Yeah, it's just been a learning curve, definitely. It's definitely, at the end of it, you do come out with a whole lot of knowledge So second time round, you'd have a lot more things on board that you would know about.
Yeah, no,
That's in the journey.
Well, being a Hybrid Author podcast, the podcast is here to help authors on their adventure. Do you have any advice you want to share, in terms of helping aspiring children's authors or just anybody who wants to write or write in the mystery genre?
Yeah, so I think writing in the mystery genre, I guess the important thing is your setting. If you want to write something, you've got to have a setting that's really easy to imagine and it has a little bit of sense of a setting that's suitable to a mystery. I think that's picking something and then having something happen at the beginning of the story, and then you've got your clues, planning some clues along the way, having some high stakes, having a reason why your protagonist has to get through the clues, and just having some deception, some red herrings, deception, tricks that happen along the way, characters that your reader can relate to and become invested in, and just a really good resolution at the end that is satisfying to the reader. I guess they're the things that I tried to put into my book.
Do you think for this age group as well, it's important to wrap up the mystery rather than like Picnic at Hanging Rock, leave it open-ended?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think they need a resolution and a sense of satisfaction at the end, definitely. And just making the characters, the reader, be really getting invested in them and connecting with them and wanting things to work out for them.
Almost wanting to become a sleuth themselves through the book and figure
Yeah.
out.
Well, that's right. That's right. Wanting to sort of jump into the story and be part of it as well. That's what I want the readers to feel.
Oh, fantastic. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time and expertise, Rosie. Can you tell our listeners, where can they discover the new book and everything you do on and offline?
Okay, so the book's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It's advertised on Goodreads, and I've also Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram at I'm Rosie Reads. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. That was fantastic.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Next time on the Hybrid Author podcast, it's a loner-sode from me on hybrid social media strategies. And this is an episode I've been meaning to put out a few weeks now. I think I announced it and then released a different one, so apologies for any confusion there caused to regular listeners. But you will get to hear this one next week, so I wish you well in your author adventure. That's it from me. Bye for now.
That's the end for now, authors. I hope you're further forward in your author adventure after listening, and I hope you'll listen next time. Remember to head on over to the Hybrid Author website at www.hybridauthor.com.au to get your free author pass. It's bye for now.